Your motivation is shaping your homeschool. Welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Shauna. We are a homeschooling family of 4. We are in our 7th year of homeschooling, and I have a 6th grader and a 2nd grader. Today, I wanted to talk with you about open minds, unlimited school. Guys, before we go any further, please scroll down, hit the big red subscribe button, turn on the bell for notifications, and give this video a thumbs up. As always, you can find me right on down in the comments or over on Instagram at Making Everyday Magic. We've had this discussion a lot recently, and it's going to become a lot more prevalent coming up about a Christian nationalist shift to homeschooling. And I fully support that everyone should homeschool for the reasons that are right for them. Homeschool should be exactly what you and your family and your learner need it to be. I am a firm believer that everyone should have that right and that freedom to choose the educational path of their children that they can provide. I worry about the motivation that's leading people to this path. Now, I have several videos talking about how the first step in your homeschool journey should be to identify your why, to figure out your motivation. And I have gotten direct feedback from a lot of people who've thanked me for that approach, because the first thing that you need to do is identify your why, your motivation, because in times of struggle, in times of criticism, in times of hard work, in times of resistance, your motivation is going to be the thing that comes back, that brings you back to being able to keep going, to be honest with you, to give that perseverance, or to know when to quit if your motivation changes. So that is why it is very important to me to articulate to you that first and foremost, you need to decide your motivation. And you really should be doing this often. This isn't just for people starting out. You should be doing it often because motivations change, kids change, people change. I say this all the time. Right now, Shauna, that's because right now, Shauna isn't the Shauna who started 7 years ago. It's not even the Shauna who started this year. Right now, Shauna has very unique needs. Right now, families have very unique needs. The needs of your family today are not the needs from last year, the needs from next year. So it's important to constantly be reevaluating your homeschool and your motivation to homeschool. So I want you to think about your why, okay? And whatever that is, whether it's, things that are going on in schools, high levels of gun presence in schools, or things that happen in schools related to that. Or if it is feeling like your kid is getting lessons and things you don't want them to have, or access to books that you don't want them to have. What I want you to do is essentially, I'm going to be like your therapist here. I'm going to ask you, what is your motivation? And I want you to tell it to me right now. I'm going to pause. You think about it, and you tell me what your motivation is right now. Okay, so what is your motivation for wanting to homeschool? Now what I want you to do is look at that statement. Look at what you've told me, whether it is fear of this or access to that or something like that. And then what I want you to do is I want you to think about, is that really what you're worried about? Or really your motivation? Is there maybe something that once you've said that out loud, there's like a deeper thing? Like, is there really a fear of being bullied like you were in school, or a fear that your kids won't make it home from school one day? In which case that motivation is fear. What I want you to do is I want you to be able to pinpoint down your motivation for wanting to homeschool. And then what I want to do, and again, this is for people who are new and people who are not, I want you to think about how that motivation shapes your homeschool. Because if you are worried about access to things, if you are going into this with wanting a focus on, more God in your home and in your homeschool and in your lessons, or less God in your homeschool and in your lessons, because secular, non-secular, everyone is very guilty of this. What you do is you take your motivation for homeschooling and then you put on those goggles of that motivation, those rose tint of that specific motivation, and then you go into the world looking for things that fit in the box you've already made. And I want you to know that if you are blinders on, tinted goggles on, and you're going out into the world to find the hexagonal thing to fit in the hexagonal box that you've made, you are limiting your homeschool. You've already decided the shape that it should be instead of being open-minded, because even as a secular homeschooler, I will still entertain things that I know are a widely popular used thing, or I will still entertain things that maybe check 9 of 10 of my boxes because it's an amazing resource. I try not to. Yes, my motivation is absolutely a jumping off point for research and access to things and things like that. But what I don't do and what I strive, okay, honest, maybe I do, but what I work really hard to not do is to limit our access to something that could be fantastically amazing just because I've decided it has to fit into the box that I made walking into the situation. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about how your motivation is shaping your homeschool. Whereas maybe your motivation starts your homeschool, but your homeschooling, as it progresses, as it goes on, should be shaping then that motivation. So I want you to not get bogged down, nose to the grindstone, thinking that this is the way it has to be. And again, people are guilty of this on both sides. So they don't want a science that talks about evolution, or they don't want a science that is devoid of God, or they only want God mentioned at everything. They must do everyday Bible study. Or the flip side of that, there are secular extreme groups where if it even remotely resembles any reference to anything that could possibly be construed as a deity, God figure, whatever, then they will burn you at the stake like a witch. So it genuinely is both sides. And I want you to stop and think about what that motivation is doing to your homeschool. Is it limiting it or is it expanding it? Because if there is any amount of anything that is limiting your homeschool, I 100% believe that this is a disservice. We have the entire world is open and available to us. When I think of a limited education, I think of the place down the street that has fences, that has strict schedules, that has locking doors, that's got limited windows for safety. That is what I think of when I think of limited access education. I do not think of what I do. When I think of what I do, I think of freedom. Freedom to do more of what we want. Freedom as a family. Freedom to find the things that do fit our values, but I don't want to misconstrue my motivation and say it's freedom and say we're taking a bold stance, but then in fact niche down so far that we've neglected the amazing freedom that homeschool truly is. And while there may be things that you feel very, very strongly about, I'm all for that. But often the way your schooler needs to learn and needs to have information given to them, the exposure that they need is not always the way that you need that to be. And I want you to remember that you are in service to your homeschooler. You are in service to their education. And I don't want you taking in these preconceived notions, these preconceived motivations, and then finding something to force into that box instead of looking at the vast expanse of resources and amazing things that are available. So I want you to truly think about your motivation and to then really sit with it and think about how that is in turn shaping your homeschool. Okay? And I know that this is a big topic, but as we're getting into the planning season and things like that, it is a really important topic, and it is an increasingly important topic for the ways of the world right now. If you're coming from a place of fear, maybe consider that you should shift perspective. If you're coming from a place of wanting limits, I really want you to maybe just consider that that's not ideal. That as parents, we want to give our children the world. We want to be able to give them everything. We want them to be able to do anything and everything. And the way that we do that is not in fact less. Okay, so I'm not asking you to jeopardize any values, opinions, change your mind. I'm not asking any of that. What I'm asking you to do is to sit with you and think about what you really want from this, and then think about if that aligns and is in service to your learner. That is all I am asking of you. So I want you to just be contemplative. Scroll down, share with us. If you want to, share your motivations down below. If you don't want to share, if you want to share but you don't want to share them publicly, shoot me a DM. I'm happy to just give it a heart. That's all I'll do. You don't need to know how I feel about it because it's not my business. It genuinely is not my business, and it is not my place to comment on it one way or the other. I'll just give it a heart or a little smiley face. That's it. Because I want the freedom and the access to the things that I want for me, I want that for you, okay? So while I don't want you to impose your views on me, I don't want to impose my views on you. I want you to do what's right for you and also to leave me alone. And this is gonna be great. We can still be friendly, even if we don't always agree, okay? So that's it, guys. Sit with you. Let you know how you're doing. That's it. That's all I'm asking, okay? As we get into the planning season of another homeschool year, I want you to really think about the world, what your place is in it, what your kid's place is in it, what your service is to your learner. That's it, okay? So just take a minute and reflect, okay? Think about how your motivation is shaping your homeschool, and if that is the shape you want your homeschool to be, okay? All right, guys, I hope that you found any of this helpful, entertaining, or informative. If you did, please scroll down, hit the big red subscribe button, turn on the bell for notifications, and give this video a thumbs up. As always, you can find me down in the comments or over on Instagram. Feel free to share down below if you feel comfortable, if you want to. If not, shoot me a DM. If you don't want to share it all, that's fine. Just take a minute and sit with you and think about that. Write it down. Keep it in a place, maybe for a week on your mirror where you look at it a lot and think about if there's another layer, if that's really what that means for your homeschool, what impact that has on your homeschool. Bye, guys.